It's time for another episode of Let's Talk Business South Carolina, featuring industry outlooks, panel discussions on trending topics, and interviews with business executives. And now, coming to you from the Drum Creative Studio, here's your host, longtime South Carolina business publisher, Rick Jenkins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Business South Carolina. We are up to episode number 41, and I am your host, Rick Jenkins. I'm glad you joined us. Our next two episodes, 41 and 42, we're going to be talking about a lot of economic development topics. Just real quick, I'm going to let you know what's coming up in episode number 42. Jason Giulietti, he is the new CEO at the Midlands version of Upstate SC Alliance. It's the Central SC Alliance. He's going to be here, but today I got two other folks. One, this guy right here. This is Max Stewart. Max is the new CEO at the Greenville Area Development Corporation, or GADC. Max, I'm going to get to you in 1 second. But coming up after Max is Chris Rizzo. Chris is the CEO at a group called Clear Mountain Properties, and they are an investment firm and a property management company that is located in the Upstate. And Chris is an expert at having insight on what people are investing in South Carolina. But now, Max Stewart, CEO, GADC, welcome to South Carolina.
Thanks.
Welcome to Greenville, and welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Happy to be here.
It is good to have you, man. You've only been here, what, 3-4 months?
Yeah, 92 days.
Not
On the dot.
You know it down to the
counting,
day.
yeah.
Is family here with you?
We are family. Yep, everybody's up here now.
Okay, good. And you come from Florida. Bradenton area.
Bradenton, Sarasota, just south of Tampa.
I got you. So that is a big area. You know, I looked up, and if you look at the Tampa Bay MSA, it is, I think, like 2.5 million people, maybe a little more. South Carolina, 5 million people. So, you know, that spot in Florida is half the size of the state in terms of population. But I think there's a lot of similarities between Florida and South Carolina.
You know, there's a lot of the benefits of, quality of life here in the area between Florida and South Carolina is pretty much on par with each other. Cost of living is very close, similar in the markets. So kind of very similar markets in that respect.
Here's a couple interesting facts that I want to get into before we get into some weeds.
Sure.
South Carolina in 2023, fastest growing state in the United States in terms of a percent, 1.7%. Number two, Florida at 1.6, tied with Texas at 1.6. Another similarity, South Carolina's unemployment rate at 3% last year, which is a little higher than we were for a while, was 18th. Florida, 2.9% at 17th. Tourism big in both states. Advanced manufacturing actually bigger in Florida than I realized until I started taking a look at it. And IT booming in both states. Similarities.
You know, very similar. The one thing that we have going for us in both states right now is the aerospace industry, the aviation industry. Those are huge. I mean, here in South Carolina with Boeing, and then in Florida with the aerospace, the rocket industry.
Of course,
it's growing there too. So a lot of similarities in the structure of both states. Very military focused backgrounds with those types of things. So a lot of what we do is focused on that advanced manufacturing, aviation, aerospace industry.
Right. So we're going to continue with that in a second, but Greenville, great place to live, as you know, right? And I moved to Greenville about 2 decades ago. It's been 20 years now, 21, I think. And when I moved here 21 years ago, we could call it a hidden gem. You can't call it a hidden gem anymore. It's on every list you see everywhere about best cities, best places to retire and all that. And so now you get to come in and put your stamp on a city like Greenville. But Greenville is a great place to live, but it's also a good place to work. Tell me why.
So when we were coming up here for the tour of the area, we got to meet a lot of the different business leaders on my interview process for this. And I got to learn a lot about this area as a business destination. You know, most people don't know that this is the Upstate is the global with the U.S. headquarters for BMW, U.S. headquarters for Michelin. The F-16 is made here in Greenville County.
The only place.
The only place in the entire world that's made or refurbished. So this is a great place to do business. And I was kind of surprised about the number of possibilities for companies to be engaged in the market. The workforce, there's some things we're working on in the workforce, but I think this is just a great market.
Other than it's beautiful, right? Other than it is 85 and 385 and positioning between Charlotte and Atlanta and the beach and the mountains and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
What is it that makes a business person say, I want to relocate or start my business in the upstate of South Carolina or Greenville?
As a CEO that's just moved here to the market, I can say that I think the friendliness of the people, the quality of the people in this market wins out a lot of people's hearts and minds. You know, you want to move in a market where you feel welcomed, where you feel like, yeah, I can succeed here. But if you feel like all the doors are closed all the time, you know, that can hinder you from wanting to do business here. But all the doors have been open. I've talked to some other CEOs who are new to the market. They said, I've had access to people, the resources that I need to succeed in business. And so that's what a lot of people are asking for. They know they can do their business. They know how to do their business, but is the community welcoming to them? And I think we've shown that here in Greenville County and in the Greenville area, that we are a welcoming place for both people and for business. And that makes people comfortable being here.
Agreed. GADC, let's talk about that. You come in and you've been here, like we say, 3 or 4 months. Just kind of give us that elevator speech of GADC. A lot of our folks know it, but one more time for those who may not, and what the structure looks like and the mission of the organization.
Yeah, so the GADC is a public-private partnership of Greenville County. We are the lead economic development organization for Greenville County. We are in charge of business recruitment, business retention, and negotiating the incentives and the programs that are available to companies that are looking to expand in this market or relocate to this market. And so we are on the forefront of creating prosperity and quality of life for Greenville County citizens, all Greenville County citizens in that market. We are governed by a board of 15 people that are appointed by the county council, and they are citizens in the community. So they are representative of the community, and they're able to work with us to kind of make policy decisions. What goes on? What are we going to be focused on at the Greenville Area EDC? You know, what our role's going to be.
Max, I want to pivot into workforce.
Sure.
As you, I am sure, know, manufacturing, advanced manufacturing is driving the South Carolina economy these days, right? I mean, tourism is always there, but from a dollar perspective, advanced manufacturing brings in a whole lot of money to the economy. And it is experiencing some workforce challenges.
It is.
Lots of jobs are out there, lots of cool jobs, lots of good paying jobs, but we can't find people. And that goes for facilities right here in Greenville. What are you hearing, and what can you do about it?
Well, you know, that when we work with a project, it's, you know, established business here in Greenville County or an expanding one, the first place we take them is to Greenville Tech, to the CMI Center, to look at what are the opportunities for upskilling a workforce. And I think we are in a community at a preface point when we are not just this distribution market, low, light manufacturing. We're getting into that advanced manufacturing. So we're having to kind of upskill, retool the workforce to kind of get into that advanced manufacturing sector. A lot of these jobs still, you know, don't need a degree, advanced degree in engineering, but they do need specialized training.
That's right.
And so moving the needle on the workforce, what are the programs offered, really engaged with the business community, because they are the ones who are saying we need this X, Y, and Z program, and then getting Greenville Tech and the school system to kind of pivot in that direction. That does take some time and planning, and so that's, I think, where we're at as a community, going from that distribution, light manufacturing job to more of that advanced manufacturing job, professional technical services. So relying on Greenville Tech, Clemson, our university partners, I think that's where we're at right now. So it's a pivot point, definitely, for us.
Do you have a concern if I'm a manufacturer and I come in here and they're aware of some workforce issues that it's kind of hard to find folks? Do you have a concern that that's going to prevent somebody from coming into town?
You know what? That's the number one concern we see on the table. When we fill out an RFI or we're working with a consultant, you know, how does our community match up? You know, quality of life, we match up with a lot of different communities. We hit way above our weight with matching communities around the country. You know, Austin, Texas, Nashville. We're hitting above our weight, but we get down to the workforce issues. That is a challenge for a lot of these consultants and companies that are looking at this market, because they see that there's a need for the bigger workforce. So our job as a community, as community leaders, is to get the word out there about the opportunities for students in the market. Whether or not they take that or not, that's our goal, is to find the right message and get that message out there. So,
You mentioned Austin and Nashville.
Yeah.
What are some other sister cities that you benchmark yourself against?
we really look at a number of markets. I just mentioned those a few, but Raleigh, Raleigh-Durham area, a lot in Pennsylvania, a lot of that Pittsburgh market, the old manufacturing market there. Some out west. We're looking at some of the Orange County, the Riverside, California markets in the aviation sector. So there are quite a few benchmarks for us. But if you're looking at level-to-level field, we hit above where we should be in a lot of different aspects. And so that's a benefit to Greenville. We've done a great job of marketing this as a destination. And so now we have to start hitting that benchmark at the higher level.
If you're going to have to work closely with Upstate Alliance, right, and John Lummis, the CEO over there, and his great group of folks, tell our viewers how that partnership works.
Yeah.
What do they do? Where do you all take over? Do they tee it up and you come in, or what does it look
Yeah, so the Upstate Alliance is our lead marketing organization for the Upstate and business development. They're the ones who are getting the leads to come to the Upstate region. It's our job to work with the companies after they've kind of come to the market, seen the market, where they like it. Oh, I like Greenville, I like Lawrence, or I like this market. And then we work with them on the deal negotiation, site selection, all those aspects. And so, the Upstate is the marketing arm of this, the business development trips part of it.
Yeah.
But our job is really to seal the deal, work with our strategic land, the land that we have, and the county to negotiate the project to land here in the county.
Next year, 2025, tell me what types of industries you all might be looking at. Manufacturing aside, right? What is going to drive the boat in the future here? You mentioned aerospace.
Yep. Aerospace, aerospace, aviation, aerospace, and the defense industry will drive a lot of probably what we do in 2025 with relates to Lockheed and some of the other industry sectors. We have GE is here as well. But I think we're going to be pivoting a little bit to that life science area. There's a lot of interest in life science. There's a lot of companies that are in that startup ecosystem in the life science industry here. They're going to be looking at Greenville because Greenville is now at kind of one of those mini metropolis markets for life science companies.
What happened that made the upstate of South Carolina a place for life science?
I have gotten into it a little bit, and what I've seen is there are some companies that are in that manufacturing sector, and the kind of that normal progression for a project is you have a manufacturing presence in an area. And then you start bringing your R&D presence in there. And then you start bringing your research and your C-suite level people into a market. And I think we're seeing that, with Bosch and Lomb, with some of the other bigger companies, Arthrex over in Anderson County. You're seeing some of that manufacturing here. And then now we're in the phase of starting to see some of that R&D infrastructure move into the market. And then it's probably going to be where we'll start seeing the C-suite companies. But I think the biggest thing is we're building from the ground up. We're starting with smaller manufacturers in that area who have moved from other markets and said, hey, I want to start a life science company. This is a perfect place. It's a pretty green field for that. Yeah. So there's no preconceived notions about different tech. We're happy to work with everybody.
Let's talk about what has happened in 2024. I know you've only been here for 92 days of it.
92 days.
I got that, but you probably have had plenty of conversations. Kind of give us an overview. What happened in Greenville County in 2024?
We've had a really unique thing happen in Greenville County this year is with our projects, we saw pretty much a 50-50 split between companies that were looking to locate here in the market and established businesses kind of expand in this market. So a few unique projects we've had. One of the
I'm sorry, let me interrupt just one sec. When you say a 50-50, are you talking about number of projects?
Number of projects.
Or dollar value?
Number of projects.
Okay, keep going.
So the local company, great example of this is the Swamp Rabbit Cafe and Grocery Store.
Yeah.
This year, they decided to expand their presence here locally, and they are now opening a distribution center to do more Swamp Rabbit grocery store products in the market. They are, a small business. They've grown up from this market. And they're now at that level where they're really ready to expand and distribute their product. On the big side, the big project, then you go to the other projects that's kind of relocated here or establishing a new presence. Enersys, which is one of our battery manufacturers that's moving into the upstate region. That's a $500 million phase one project with about 500 jobs over 5 years. A huge capital investment. But then on the international side too, we have a company called Expandable, which is a $3 million capital investment project from the Netherlands. That's opening a expandable kind of office or expandable housing. So you see a very wide, unique range of projects.
You talked about batteries.
Yeah.
You've only been here a short period of time, but what is your impression? Are South Carolina folks going to support electric vehicles?
I think there's more to it than just the electric vehicle. There's the battery storage part of this. I mean, we talk about in the state of South Carolina, grid resiliency right now is another thing we're working on. And there's a program called SC Nexus, which is working on that sustainable energy field. What does grid resiliency look like? What does battery storage look like? So more than just the electric vehicles, which are great wins for the market, but there's also that industrial storage capacity as well. So we're seeing both the electric vehicle, but also the battery technology between Enersys and Phenacon with industrial sized batteries, not just the car batteries to the market.
You have had a chance to look into it.
Oh, I've been looking at it.
I bet you
trying a little bit. So.
I bet you have. All right, let's look forward to 2025. What kind of year are you expecting?
We expect probably a little bit of a smaller year on the overall project. I think it's going to be more quality than quantity for projects. You know, our job is we can be very specific about what projects we support in the market. So my job and my team's job is to be very nuanced in the projects that we bring into the market. Do they fit what is going on currently in Greenville County? Do they have the same workforce demands that we have for the employment market? And do they really support the growing needs we have here in the market? So I think that's where we're going to be, is we're going to be focused on quality over quantity of projects. And we're also going to be really focused on making sure that our manufacturing base here in this market is taken care of. So our established businesses here in Greenville County, if they're growing, our county is going to continue to grow. But we need to make sure every single day that we're out there in the market talking to them to make sure that they have the tools and resources to grow themselves.
Any word on when the next big announcement's going to happen, Max?
We will probably have another big announcement in December of this year.
Okay.
For 2025. So you can look forward to that.
All right, you got a Christmas present coming up.
Hopefully we got a Christmas present.
I look forward to it. All right, I'm going to get you out of here on this. What is number one on your agenda now as you settle in?
I am working on my team. My vision and board supportive vision is I want to empower a team that builds a resilient and inclusive Greenville County.
Yeah.
Resilient to economic pressures, either up or down, that continues to grow, but also inclusive. And I use the term inclusive. Michelin has a great term for this, is every citizen has an opportunity at a job that they love. And so that is my focus on 2025 going forward. We're going to build a team that empowers the community to build a resilient and inclusive Greenville County.
Love it. Good stuff, Max.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Folks, that's Max Stewart. He is the CEO, the new CEO, on the job for 92 days and counting with GADC, the Greenville Area Development Corporation. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back in 60 seconds with Chris Rizzo. He's the CEO at Clear Mountain Properties.
I bet you want a website that drums up business. You see, every business wants to have an effective online presence that helps their business grow. We guide you through our process that will drive results by clarifying your message with a beautiful design that's strategically optimized for search. Stop wasting your time and money on an ineffective website and let us help you drum up business by designing a website that speaks to your audience and delivers results.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to Let's Talk Business South Carolina. We are up to episode number 41. And as I told you at the top of the show, these two episodes, this episode and episode number 42, we're going to be talking about a whole lot of economic development topics. And here to help me have that conversation and continue the conversation is this guy, Chris Rizzo. He is with Clear Mountain Properties, and he has been on the show with us before. Chris, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me back.
It is good to have you here, and I want to jump right into it. And before we get down into some weeds, I do want to say that you and family just moved into the Upstate area 5 weeks ago. Welcome to South Carolina. Welcome to the Upstate, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, sir. Mentally, I feel like I moved here a number of years ago.
Yeah.
And finally, the physical aspect is matched up with it. So we're very excited to be here.
You decided a while back that you wanted to move to this area. Now, you're originally from Northeast Jersey, is it?
New Jersey, that's right.
You're originally from Jersey. You're a Jersey boy. You decided, do you want to move down to the South? You picked this area. Why? We know it's a great place to live. Why did you pick it from a I want to work there perspective?
From a business standpoint, what really stood out as we started digging into the business landscape, and for us as a real estate company, what that means is meeting with a lot of the local players, whether it's brokers or attorneys or architects or municipal leaders. What really stood out to us is that there is a huge, not only is everybody welcoming on the personal level, people are welcoming on the business level, but when you start to dig into the real estate process, especially at the municipal level, everybody's very welcoming. And the conversations that you have with business folks down here, again, especially at that municipal level, are very much geared towards how can we be a help to you? What are you looking to do? Let's be partners in business. Whereas in New Jersey, there are lots of barriers to entry. There's lots of roadblocks along the way. There's lots of bureaucracy that tends to want to shoot down projects rather than work with a real estate investor or developer to bring that project to fruition. I think that the municipalities down here have done a really great job, holistically understanding that the growth phenomenon is happening in the Upstate, and they're doing a great job of being thoughtful about how to wrap their hands around it and put in some. There's not roadblocks. There's just more of a, let's put in some road posts to guide this growth. Right. So that's really what stood out to us.
Clear Mountain Properties, you guys are a real estate investment firm. You're a property management company. Give us that little brief elevator speech.
Sure. So we are an investment and development firm. What we're looking to do is we're looking to buy properties that are in some kind of distress, whether they're mismanaged, they need a lot of rehabilitation work, former mill sites, things with tax credits. We tend to, kind of find ourselves doing the hairier type deals where there's a lot of problems to work out. It's intellectually stimulating for us. It's a challenge. We like that kind of thing. But we're really trying to bring value, whether we're rehabilitating an existing asset or if we're building something new. We're always trying to be additive to the fabric of whatever city we're working in. So, we do, like I said, existing, value add, investing. To date, it's been a lot of multifamily, a lot of industrial, and then we've done a lot of ground up residential projects.
Give me an idea, and we'll start here in the Upstate, but I do want to get, and I realize you're not as familiar with the other markets as the Upstate, and so we get that. But let's start in the Upstate with the real estate market. Tell me what's going well, what's not. We're looking at residential, commercial, industrial, office. Give me an idea.
Sure. So I think that what you're seeing in the Upstate is what you're seeing in a lot of growth markets across the Sun Belt over the last 5 years. There was this explosion of growth coming out of COVID where you had a lot of apartment deliveries, this new Class A luxury product. And quite honestly, there was more supply than has ever hit the market previously. So, for instance, we own an existing apartment building in Greer. And when we bought it a few years ago, we thought we'd be achieving rents of X. But the apartment supply in Greer grew by 25% in 2 years. That's a ton of supply for a growing market to absorb. And so we've seen that phenomenon across the Upstate, a lot of apartment deliveries. The rent growth has slowed down tremendously in this area. We're also seeing that same phenomenon in industrial. You had a lot of spec building in the last couple of years. And I think if you drive on the I-85 corridor, you'll see a lot of these big monstrosity industrial buildings sitting there. A lot of those got leased up, but then kind of when the music stopped, there's some that are sitting vacant. And so you've seen a very big slowdown in apartment construction, industrial construction, but those are being absorbed now. So those new construction buildings are being absorbed, both on the industrial and the multifamily side. So we are pretty bullish over the next couple of years of some of that rent growth coming back. Anytime that the supply stops, the demand here is not slowing down. 70 people a day are moving to the Upstate. We think it's only going to continue to increase or at least stay at a steady pace. So when you hit the brakes on some of the supply, you're only going to create more demand down the road. So it's cyclical as always with every business, right? But we've seen a slowdown in multifamily. We've seen a slowdown in industrial. We think that those sectors are coming back. I should say that the small box industrial is performing as well as ever. Those small flex industrial spaces, kind of 50,000 square feet and below, because nobody's built that product, so there's a lot of scarcity value around there. Nobody wants to touch office right now. Retail continues to thrive. Quite honestly, if you could do a well-located retail deal, you'll do very well. The residential renter today wants a lot of amenities. They want the gym. They want the pool. They want the clubhouse. We've seen that sort of demand in the office sector as well. Office tenants, they want outdoor space. They want easy access to food options. They want amenities within their building. Buildings that were built any time before 2010 really don't have any of that to offer. Right. And if you're out in a suburb and you're in a 1980s office building, it's hard to attract tenants. So the Class A office space is really lacking when you look at Greenville, when you look at Spartanburg. And I think quite honestly, it's going to become a problem for those markets because there's so much economic activity and there's not the right kind, that's a poor phrase, but there's the kind of economic activity that's happening right now is the kind where a corporation is going to be looking to place a headquarters in Greenville and Spartanburg. Whereas 20 years ago or even 10 years ago, Greenville wasn't necessarily on the map to land a national or regional headquarters. Now it is. But if you don't have the office space to offer them today, and you say, well, we can build you an office building in 2 years here, that's not attractive, or it's less attractive for a corporate. And I think that there really needs to be a push to build and supply that Class A office space to attract that first corporate tenant. Because I think once you do that one time, people will see, oh, okay, we can attract those type of tenants, and then the building will come.
Well, you got a chicken and egg scenario.
Of course.
Right? And that means you have to make a really hefty investment in hopes that you're going to land that first big fish.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And that's not always easy to...
No, it's not easy. It's not easy. And I'm not sitting here saying it is. I think that there's a city's going to need to help incentivize a project like that to help get it off the ground. If it has some support from the municipality, lenders will be able to look at it more favorably, because that's the problem. Nobody wants to finance a spec building right now.
Is Class A office space, is that pretty much by definition going to be in downtown Greenville?
That's where
or a block off, that kind of thing?
That's where your corporate headquarters want to be. I mean, if you're trying to, look at...
Or Spartanburg.
Yeah, or Spartanburg. I mean, if you look at the tenants, the type of corporations that you want to attract, they want to be in those central business districts. Because that's where those people want to work.
Right. Tell me, from your perspective, what is working and what is not working as well in the Midlands?
So I think that the Midlands is going to benefit greatly from the effects of everything that's happening in the Upstate. And not to say that the Midlands doesn't have its own economic engine, but there's some key aspects that are happening right now. One is, just the connectivity between Columbia and the Upstate on I-26. And then when you look at the growth that's pushing down from Greenville to Malden to Simpsonville to Fountain Inn to Lawrence to Clinton, and you're just going down that corridor and there's tons of growth. I think that all of that's going to kind of bleed in together and spill over. Another huge thing that I don't know how much is appreciated, but when we look at these things, we think it's a major value driver, is late in 2023, the U.S. Department of Commerce named or gave the a technological hub designation to SC Nexus, which is a consortium of 50 public and private groups that are working together to advance the energy grid in South Carolina. And it's going to be located, I believe, or the base of operations is somewhere near Columbia. So I think the Columbia, the Midlands regions, and the Upstate are geographically speaking, are positioned incredibly well to harness all of this incredibly significant investment that's happening in some of these very high-tech sectors. Historically, you wouldn't think about South Carolina being a leading-edge technology provider, but that's what's happening. There's been, in the last 2 years alone, $8 to $10 billion of investment in energy storage facilities across the state, not just in the Upstate, but all over the state. And when you think about energy storage, immediately people think about electric vehicles, and that's certainly one market opportunity for energy storage and the batteries associated with that. but that's actually a very small market segment. So when you think about energy storage and you think about just your everyday life, more and more devices need more and more power. And everything that we do, the storm that we had just proved, it's hard to live without power, right? So our daily lives are more and more dependent upon devices that use batteries and use energy. And being able to store energy, recycle energy, this is a massive industry. And we're just at the early phases of this. And South Carolina is on the leading edge of technology advances in this space. And that's in the Midlands, that's in the Upstate. It's out in Charleston too, but when I think about those things, I think more Midlands than Upstate. So I think there's a really bright future on the technology front.
I want to come back to batteries and power and all that fun stuff here in a second, but first let's take a look down at the Low Country. Tell me what you're seeing down in that area.
So Charleston, I think, continues to thrive. In my mind, it's still the first market that people think of when they think of South Carolina. I think Charleston's got some challenges just because of its geographical limitations, where it is on the coast. You can't. You're landlocked in certain portions of it. You can't really build more. So the city will continue to expand, but it's got some planning challenges, I think. What's a huge driver for Charleston is the port. If you look at the Port of Charleston, I think it's got it does have the fastest turn time on the eastern seaboard. People can get in and out in 60 minutes. And I think it's one of the only ports that has 2 lanes, 1 lane in, 1 lane out.
Yeah, and the deepest.
And the deepest, that's right. So that continues to expand at a huge clip every year. If you look at SC Ports, the data that comes out of those folks, they're doing more and more tonnage every single year. They're becoming more and more integral to the entire supply chain across the entire eastern seaboard. Now, the Upstate benefits from that, having Inland Port Greer, but the Port of Charleston continues to be a huge driver for that whole area. One thing that the city of Charleston, I know, is doing, which I think will be very beneficial to it in the long term, is that they are in the process of basically writing affordable housing code into their housing plan. And I know some folks who are working on that down there with them. And I think if affordable housing that doesn't often strike people as a way of building a sustainable economy or investment that's going to lead to some booming economy, right? But if you think about it, as Charleston continues to grow and prices continue to go up there, the workers who work in a lot of these industries, they need a place to live. So if you don't address that affordable housing element, you're going to have a real problem on your hands.
Let's kind of transition from real estate. I'm going to go back into it. You've already hit on it, but let's just take another dive into the other things in South Carolina that people are investing in. Mm-hmm. And we talked about batteries. Oh my gosh, are we investing in batteries these days and power? But other than that, give me a couple of thoughts.
So I think that, and I mentioned SC Nexus.
Yes.
It's hard, in my mind, it's hard to overstate the importance of that consortium, the designation from the Department of Commerce, and the investments that are being made there. And again, I think that there's a few aspects at play here. We need more energy than ever to just live our daily lives. Just the batteries, the power, the devices that we're using on a day-to-day basis, our cars, our phones, our houses. There are so many applications of this technology that I'm doing it an injustice by sitting here talking about it because I'm only scratching the surface. But what SC Nexus is focused on is sustainable, reliable energy delivery and building up the utility grid, the electric grid, to support the future growth. So all of these advanced technologies and these advanced industries, advanced materials, advanced manufacturing, they're using more and more power. These are all great industries that states are trying to attract. And we're seeing all of these southeastern states bring in these types of companies. But the part that needs to get talked about, and South Carolina is doing a fantastic job of this, is those types of companies and those types of technologies, they consume and they demand huge amounts of power. So how can our electric grid support that? And the states that get there the fastest, that are able to work with the private companies and come up with solutions to power them, those are the states that are going to win. And South Carolina, again, they're on the leading edge of this type of technological investment. And I think it goes back to one of the things I mentioned at the outset. I think South Carolina is doing an incredible job of meeting the private corporations where they are in terms of what do you need from a utilities perspective that we can support your growth, but also what do you need from a workforce perspective. I see a huge amount of connectivity between the training that students in South Carolina are getting to be tooled and ready to be productive members of the workforce at these new companies.
Fantastic insight, Chris. I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Always
Good
good to be here.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Folks, that's Chris Rizzo. He is principal at Clear Mountain Properties. And that concludes episode number 41 of Let's Talk Business. We'll see you next time.